Hacksaw. 2x4, it is Hacksaw, tough guy. Knowing it's the Hacksaw Hour. 2x4, it is Hacksaw, tough guy. Knowing it's the Hacksaw Hour.
What's up, everybody? It's Marcus D'Angelo, and we are back for another episode of the Hacksaw Hour. And of course, you know this fella right here. That is WWE Hall of Famer Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Jim, what's going on, man?
Give me one, Marcus. Come on, start off one time for me.
Here we go. Oh!
Now, that's a good hole, brother, I'll tell you. But let me explain right off the bat. We still got the Christmas tree up, and we went down to visit the girls over the holidays down in Florida. We just got back, so I got a big afternoon, and next week I'll be taking down these trees. And we got more decorations. And I said, we live on a dirt road. Nobody sees them. I said, well, we see them. So for the next few days, I'll be busy taking down Christmas decorations. But happy holidays and happy New Year to everybody.
Yes, happy holidays, happy New Year. Jim, I know that listeners are going to want to know, how did you spend your Christmas and New Year's?
Yeah, well, Christmas we went down. You know, being a wrestler in a wrestling family, it's never the date on the calendar. It's when we all can be together. And the whole family couldn't be together till the 27th. So we actually had our Christmas and exchanged presents and did all that on the 27th. And then on New Year's Eve, are you kidding me? New Year's Eve, brother. Yeah, we watched the ball drop. I was talking to Jake. He went up to Atlantic City. He's like, you want to come up to Atlantic City with us? I'm like, no. I certainly don't want to do that, man. I was in my PJs and 3, 2, 1. And yeah, it was way to do it nowadays.
The older I get, the more I can appreciate being in your PJs on New Year's Eve. I used to be the
you
party
got a shot, brother, right off the bat. Here's a little shot. Good to see you, Marcus. I haven't talked to you in a couple of weeks. I'm like, yeah, the ball, the family. Yeah, you old timer.
Well, I'm starting to get up there too, and it's like, man.
So how old are you, brother?
I am 37. I'm gonna turn 38 this year.
37? Are you kidding?
Well, I was asleep at 10:45 that night.
Yeah, you know. Well, that's her deal, right? My friend Celia brings her friend over and comes in, and we're watching Wheel of Fortune, right? Me and Deborah, and Celia's friend's like, I can't believe your parents are watching Wheel of Fortune. Celia's like, they've done everything else.
Well, yeah, I've heard your wild stories. I'm sure we'll get to hear more over the course of the Hacksaw Hour. And look, this week we're going to be doing something pretty fun. We're actually looking back 35 years to Royal Rumble 1989. It's Rumble season, so we're going to take full advantage. You know, we know that you were the first ever winner, but now we're taking a look at the year after that and seeing how everything shook out, where you're actually going to be teamed up with the Hart Foundation against Dino Bravo and the Rougeaus. So, Jim, in addition to hosting this show with you, I also do shows with Jake and Ted DiBiase, and it occurred to me that I have the opportunity to do something really fun, which is I'm gonna talk to all three of you this month about Royal Rumble 1989, and we can get 3 separate perspectives on it. So, folks, if you're enjoying this show,
Jake won't remember 89 at all.
That's why I've got the notes. Give him a little nudge.
Yeah, I'm not real sure about it myself, brother.
That's all right. We'll go through these notes, and I'm sure that we'll hit a home run as we always do. So before we get to the pay-per-view itself, there is a lot going on in the WWF at this time, and I'd love to hear your take on it. First and foremost, Big John Studd had retired in 1988, but he's going to be making his return by the end of the year, and he's going to be coming back with a big push, and he's actually going to go on to win this Royal Rumble in 89. Jim, did you get a lot of interaction with Big John Studd?
Yeah, sure did. I worked with Big John a lot. I got along with John. He was a big man. John, you know, of course, when you have Andre in the mix, it's hard to say, well, this guy's a big guy, but Big John Studd was a big, big man. And we did a lot of tag action. It was me and Big John against Haku and Andre. So
okay.
We worked that around the loops a few times. So I got to know John pretty well. He was a gentleman too. But Andre didn't like him.
So yeah, I've heard that story. What was going on between the two of them?
I don't know what the backstory was. I know one time Big John potatoed Andre pretty bad. Andre was kind of hurting back in the dressing room. Everybody's standing around Andre, and he's down. And Big John comes in. He goes, Andre, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. Andre goes, sorry means shit to me. Like, I'm going to the shower, guys.
Yikes. Yeah, that is not a guy you want to have heat with.
Yeah, no, yeah. Well, Andre was a true giant. Like I said before, guys like the Big Show, Shaquille O'Neal, guys like that, they're big, well-proportioned men. Where Andre had that giant disease, he was a giant after Princess Bride. I mean, perfect casting.
Yes, he was. And yeah, it's Jake has told the story about Andre absolutely hating Big John Studd. Apparently, he also hated Savage. Did you ever see any of that?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if he hated Savage. He didn't like Savage. He didn't like working with Savage, and Savage was afraid of him, as he should have been. Andre could hurt you by accident. Especially he was unstable. He'd have you by the throat, and you'd be down on your knees looking up at him, and he's good doing this deal. You're like, oh shit! Even if he falls, he's breaking my back. I mean, it's not good. But one time I remember when they first started putting them together, and Macho started to oil up, and Andre says, I do not like oil. And Macho took the oil and put it right in the trash. No problem. Yeah.
That's probably the right approach.
One of the smartest moves I ever saw, and I wish I'd thought of, was actually a class move, is the guy I'm not a big fan of, Ultimate Warrior. When Warrior went to work with Andre, he bought him a bottle of real expensive wine or bourbon or whatever the hell it was, and brought it in and gave it to Andre and showed a lot of respect for Andre doing that favor for him.
Wow.
Yeah. So I put Warrior over for that.
That is not something you expect to hear about when it comes to Warrior, because I mean, the only stories I ever hear from guys who knew him was like, oh my God, he was an asshole.
That's 99% of the stories, brother. But everybody's got a little bit of good in them or something, and plus it was Andre the Giant.
You better mind your P's and Q's.
I get on the airplane, I'd be next to a businessman. He'd go, man, I had a rough day at the office. I'd be like, brother. Let me tell you, I just got done with a giant, and he still had villagers in his teeth from the night before. I'm like, oh, had a rough day at the office.
Oh man, yeah, it's he's a monster, and so is Stud here, and yeah, it's as you mentioned,
Big John, yeah.
Yeah, he's.
But like I said, with Andre, John didn't get the credit I think he deserved, and he was a soft-spoken gentleman. He really was.
I've heard he wasn't. The rap on John was that he was not really passionate about pro wrestling. I never met the guy, obviously, so I can't really weigh in on that. Did you get that impression that he wasn't super passionate about the business?
I didn't really have that much interaction with him. I think. Yeah, it's not. Some guys live the business. I mean, that's their life. Jake lived the business. A lot of guys at the show, their first match, they'll stay and watch every match and sit there at the monitor and watch the final match. I check when I'm on. I'm 3. We're out of here before intermission. It was a job for me. I loved my job, but it didn't consume me, That's why I never worked in the office, I never went to the office and try to talk my angles over or stuff. I was like, give me my TV time. I'll get my stuff over, do what you want with me. Let's put me on TV. I didn't feel like I had to go in and pitch an idea or something. This wasn't, and I think John was that way too, where he just, it was his job and he came in and did his job.
Which is honestly probably the right approach. It is a job. You don't need to go be acting political. Just go.
Some guys, Terry Taylor. Now, I don't think Terry Taylor, the guy, gets a lot of respect he deserves. Back in the day, Mid-South, Terry was there. He used to keep a journal of finishes and angles and all that. He was consumed with wrestling. I always thought he would be a good head of personnel, head of talent type of guy. I really thought Terry was good, but he. always put his foot in his mouth. He shoot himself more than anybody. Plus, he'd always hit on the young wrestler girls. So always a handsome guy. I mean, him, Ricky Morton, Robert Gibson, and then there was me and Dr. Death.
I'm sure Terry Taylor did okay with the ladies back in the day. But yeah,
he was him and Teddy GQ guys. Yeah.
He does work behind the scenes with WWE now.
Yeah, he's that type of guy. He's good with the young talent.
Okay, it took me a second, but I got it. We better leave that there. Oh man. So a couple other additions at the end of 1988 are the former sheep herders who arrive in the WWF here as the Bushwhackers. Jim, their characters are kind of similar to yours in a lot of ways, in that they're kind of.
I love those guys. God bless Butch, of course. I just saw Luke I saw Luke last month down there in Florida. Yeah, I was with those guys when I did the loop. I broke into Texas, New York, Hawaii, Georgia, Pensacola. When I went to Pensacola, this wild man Duggan with a fur and chains on it. I was staying with the Bushwhackers. Joe LeDuc. It was a little motel down on the beach in Panama City Beach. God, it was great, man. It was a really good time. Really great. I had a $500 a week guarantee.
Right.
And Fuller was a payoff guy, so you get a gram of coke, a bag of weed, and $300, or any combination. Whatever the $500, you get whatever you wanted, man. It was and I had a hot little stripper, Gail Conway. Oh my God. We were living down there, man. And that's when Buck Robley called me and said, "Hey, come to San Antonio. We got a spot for you to work with Bruiser Brody." And I'm like, thanks, Buck. Things are going pretty good here in Pensacola.
Who wants to leave the stripper behind?
Panama City. But then Brody called me and says, "Hey, that's where I became Hacksaw." But yeah, living with Luke, those guys are great, man. The Bushwhackers. And like I said, we stole Wembley Stadium. Everybody else out there chopping meat for 10 minutes. Bam, bam. Lay it in good. It's a big crowd, me, Bush and Luke. Yo! Yay! Ho!
Kind of a match made in heaven.
We did 8 minutes of that we didn't touch.
That's incredible.
And the place was rocking, man.
I've heard that those guys were no stranger to having fun after the shows. Were you partying with those guys a lot?
A little bit, not a whole lot. Yeah, not a whole bunch, but yeah. But I still this day I enjoy seeing Luke. And of course, Miss Butch, he was coming to WrestleMania in California when it was out in L.A. and he made the flight, and he passed away. They took him off the plane, I believe, in an ambulance. And we were all looking forward to seeing him because he went back to New Zealand. And they're actually from New Zealand. A lot of guys, Kamala's not really from Uganda. The Bushwhackers were really from New Zealand, man.
Man, a couple legends. And I'm glad that they got their just due getting into the Hall of Fame there a couple of years ago.
Oh, yeah, they're definite. Yeah. And they're guys that they really saw the transition from when it was a carnival type business where you had they push the guy up against the curtain, blackjack him and stuff back in the day, into the worldwide entertainment it is now. They really survived. And hard to survive. You think of how long it is, or how hard it is to survive in our business, to have that kind of longevity. And Luke has been there in a very competitive business.
Oh, it's incredible. It's incredible. And yeah, I mean, you said it, they're coming in and seeing how the business is changing. So they're going from apparently being like these really rough, nasty, like blood-soaked kind of wrestlers as the sheep herders, to all of a sudden they're like licking kids' heads and being silly. And it's like, what did you think of that transition for them?
I thought true professionals, guys like that, they gave them that gimmick. They took it and ran with one-man gang, big, impressive, tough, mean son of a gun. They made him Akeem. He's dancing to the ring. Terry Taylor, they put Red Rooster on him. Cock-a-doodle-doo. No. If he died, if he really embraced the gimmick, it would have worked. If they give you the gimmick, janitor to the WCW, whatever they give you, you got to make it work. You can't say, well, geez, I don't know if I want to do that.
You got to put your heart into it.
Yeah, it's the business.
I mean, you look at Dusty Rhodes, who's going to be coming in here in 1989, and they put him in polka dots. I think a lot of guys, especially with Dusty's history and legacy, would be, kind of poo-poo that idea. But Dusty came in and he owned it, and I mean, he made it iconic.
Exactly. Another true professional, man. That's the guys that are the best in the world. You don't get on the WWE, AEW. You don't make it to that level without being the cream of the crop. And that's what was there then and what's there now.
Well, speaking of cream of the crop, shortly before the Bushwhackers arrive here, probably the best tag team in the world by a lot of accounts arrives, and that's Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard, who are coming in as the Brainbusters. Man, they had enjoyed crazy success as members of the Four Horsemen, and now they're here in the WWF, and they're not allowed to use their Four Horsemen gimmick that they got over. So now they're, part of Heenan's stable. Did you get a lot of time with those guys?
Not a whole bunch, but Tully, quite a bit. Because when I left Pensacola, where I was having a good time, Panama City, I went to San Antonio. Joe Blanchard was running the San Antonio Southwest Championship Wrestling. And so that's where I became Hacksaw. And so my first month or so there, Tully let me stay with him at his house until I got situated and stuff. And I got to know Tully. It was a beautiful house, and I had an old beat-up piece of shit car. And I knew he got hot about me parking out in front of it. But anyway, Tully, excuse me, buys this brand new white on blue Cadillac Brougham, the big stretch, huge Brougham, So to set the stage, me, a bunch of the boys are out at a strip joint partying like a week earlier. There's a little action at the strip joint. In the strip joint, Manny Fernandez, who's on his friends was Bud Sawyer, Matt Bourne, you know what I mean? So Manny Fernandez, boom, he clipped one of the strippers and all the action down. She went, right? So everything smooches off. So now it's like a week or two later. We're all in Tully's, we're out partying, in Tully's new big Cadillac. We go to Denny's, we're having breakfast. As we're leaving, the strippers in there with all her friends. And she looks, she goes, there's that guy that punched me. So her boyfriend's like, where? Right there. So boom, he grabs a steak knife off the table. Oh, no. He walks out and goes, hey, you, boom, 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 boom. He plugs Manny 4 or 5 times, pretty good with a steak knife.
Oh, my God.
So now Manny's squirting pretty good. He's leaning up against the Cadillac. Manny's squirting. He goes, get me to the hospital. Get me to the hospital. Tully's like, the ambulance is on the way. The ambulance will be right here. Just take me to the hospital.
I've only ever met Tully once. I didn't really get a ton of interaction with him, but based on what I've heard about him, that sounds like pretty much how that would go.
And little beknownst, go way back. Tully I met on a recruiting trip. He was at a quarterback at SMU, Southern Methodist, when I went there on a recruiting trip. And I met him. I didn't remember. He remembered me, but he transferred out by the time I went there. But he remembered me because it was my first time on the airplane. I flew from Albany to Dallas, Texas, and I always wore a sport coat and tie. I was a straight kid. I went to a Catholic school and everything. So on the airplane, I took my tie off and, relaxed. And now we're landing in Dallas. I put my tie off. And so the coach is there, and he's got Tully and another couple guys to meet me to show me the university. So they're all kind of looking at me kind of weird. I'm like, what the And they show me all around. And I go back to the hotel to check out. I put my tie over my collar. Like this, all might have been walking around with a tie over one side of my collar. So, yeah, Tully remembered me for sure.
So
but that's when I first met him, and then he did let me stay with him in San Antonio for a little while. And
wow, so you knew him before you knew him before you ever even thought of becoming a wrestler.
Pardon?
You had known Tully before you ever even considered becoming a wrestler.
Yes, but I didn't really know him. I had met him.
Been around him, yeah. That's
Yeah,
really cool.
and I did. And yeah, I didn't. He reminded me of meeting him when I went to San Antonio.
Yeah, it's funny. He's one of those guys. Like Arn and Tully were buddies, obviously, because they worked together. But Arn always said, like, we played heels on TV. He was like, but Tully was a heel for real, meaning like he would like. Apparently, he had a high opinion of himself. According
But
to
I believe Kelly now is reborn and everything.
yes, different man today.
Yeah, a lot of guys do that reborn deal, right? Wipe the slate, everything that.
All that stuff I did, forget it.
Yeah, that don't count.
Well,
but no, Tully and Arn, that's Ted, Terry Taylor, that kind of not me, Dr. Death, Terry Gordy.
Different group. Well,
good guys. I get along with them. Yeah, and always good to see Arn. I don't see Tully much, but I see Arn every once in a while at a convention or something.
I know that Arn on his podcast has nothing great things to say about you as well, and talks about just what a genuinely nice but very tough man you are. So that's what everybody has to say. And so it's a really specific thing, Jim, but it's something that I've seen come up a number of times since we started doing this podcast. In late 1988, you were going to switch from black trunks to blue trunks, which is the look that you're going to keep throughout the remainder of your career. Do you have any memory why you made this switch at the time?
No, I don't, but I wish I did.
Yeah,
in fact, now looking back at it, but on the other hand, though, when I switched to the blue, I got a new action figure. When I switched to the singlet, I got a new action figure. Macho was switching every other week. He had a different outfit, which looking back at it was a great idea, well ahead of our time. Old Macho was, but a lot of people like that black trunks, white boots, dirty knee pad thing. And that was a different character, Hacksaw. Yeah, I was chopping meat. I chopped with the best of them back then, man. And I was working with Brody all the time. Are you kidding? I was fighting for my life. So when I was that character was, I was stomping my foot. It would be hard to keep that going. It's like Sean trying to be the Heartbreak Kid nowadays.
It is funny because again, I've seen this question come up a bunch of times, so I knew I had to ask it, but it really does kind of like mark the transition in your career where it's like you're going from a blood and guts Jim Duggan and now you're sports
patriotic USA.
Yeah.
That was I don't really, and obviously it was a conscious decision to do that. But I don't remember having a discussion with anybody in the office or anything. Kind of my own deal. Well, I probably couldn't get in white boots. All I get was blue boots. So yeah, I don't know. But it was a marked change, and that Hacksaw was much different than King Hacksaw. With the cape, the crown, the flag, the board, the thumb, the tongue, the hoe, and the crossed eyes, right? Hey, Bobby, they're like, Duggan, can you be a little more serious in the ring?
With all this? So, Jim, you had done some flag matches in the WWF prior to the Royal Rumble here, and the original plan for this 6-man tag is apparently for a flag match, but then someone must have realized that there's only 2 non-Canadian competitors here in this match. It's you and Neidhart. So it's pretty funny stuff. They had to just switch it to a 2 out of 3 falls match. But Jim, you had some flag matches with Zukov and Koloff, and this was a big part of your early run in the WWF. What did you think of the concept of flag matches overall?
Great, yeah, I loved it. Anything's kind of something different like that was great, and a flag match was good because it was my honor to carry our flag, man. I do a lot with the military. I do a lot with the PD, first responders, and a lot of people don't. But anyway, that's a whole other story. But I carried the flag all over the world, man. And imagine standing at Pontiac Silverdome, this is back in the day too, 93,000 people. You're standing in the middle with a flag on a 2x4. Everybody in the place is going, USA, USA. I mean, to this day, I get goosebumps thinking about it, man, And yeah, I love carrying the flag, and to do something different like that and have a flag match, like a coal miner's glove match. Anything different they got you in. It's great to be involved in stuff, but when they put you in something special, that's good. But I think in WWE, I did one with I can't think of the young guy's name, Nafari, maybe.
I know that you did it with Koloff, Zukov, Dino Bravo.
No, this is one of the young kids. But anyway, I tore my pec. This pec is torn.
Oh,
and got a little hole in my chest, so I have no. So they had to. It was for Vince, and they had to keep lowering the flag because I couldn't climb up the pole. Can't make it, guys. Sorry, there's nothing there anymore.
So they had like an attendant
back in the day. A lot of guys got that torn pec because everybody was pushing heavy iron.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really not worth getting fixed.
So even to this day, you've got a torn pec?
Oh yeah, shit! I got a good indication in my chest. Yeah, I'm broke to pieces, man. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
We were at the doctor's office where Deborah's writing out all the stuff that's wrong with me. She flips the page over, starts writing. I go, I look a little rough on paper, huh? This is not on paper.
The doctor's giving you a shot too. Jeez, people are picking this
I have a great a team of doctors. I have all my serious doctors, my heart doctor. I got my heart thing coming up on the 15th. My cancer doctors, but then my orthopedic guy, he's like a magician. He comes in with a top hat and a wand. Walk again. That cortisone helps me. A lot of people it doesn't help, but I load up with the stuff. Knees, wrist. I had a trigger finger for a while, so it would go like this. And that's the way. And I'd be in the ring. I'd go, "Oh!" That's the pitch, Duggan.
You've said you're like one of the last guys remaining with all of your original body parts, nothing to replace.
Last of the old timers with all the original body parts. I like to say I come in the original package.
Pretty remarkable, Jim.
I got everything coming. I mean, they want to replace everything, but I'm like, let me stay out of the hospital for a year or two without all the serious stuff, and then I'll go ahead and get the. And as long as the cortisone works, what the devil,
Yeah. Why push it any further?
Yeah.
Well, as I mentioned, it's going to be yourself, the Heart Foundation against Dino Bravo and the Rougeos here. The Rougeos are managed by Frenchie Martin, who I believe you mentioned before that you were buddies with. And actually, Bruce Pritchard has credited Frenchie Martin with teaching him how to smoke marijuana on an airplane. Any chance Frenchie showed you that trick, Jim?
I never would do something like that in my life. Jeez Christ. Right. I was with the Freebirds long before I met Frenchie, man. Where we did it when we were landed, so they threw us off the plane though, and they had me and the three birds up against the wall at the Dallas Love Field. But Gordy was able to flush it, man. So yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's the story I heard anyway. But Frenchie, Frenchie, he was a lot of fun, man. He'd go through the X-ray machine, and if there was an X-rated bookstore, he'd buy every kind of contraption you can have. And have in his bag, Of course, they'd open it up and be like, oh my God, what's this for? And then we get the baggage carousel, right? Frenchie, he wouldn't look like one of the boys. He dressed like a straight guy. Everybody else was in sweats, long hair. He looked like everybody's 300 pounds back then. But Frenchie didn't look like one of the guys. And he'd have that bag on the carousel, and he'd hold on to it. He'd let it pull him, and then he'd take a bump, and the bag pop open, and everybody would run over to help him.
and all that stuff is in there.
All that stuff. Frenchie. Then he had the false teeth. He used to click them together. Man, Frenchie was a lot of fun on the road. Yeah, he was. And I think we did the Sky Dome together. Me and Dino when Frenchie was carrying a flag. Yeah.
Anytime anybody talks about Frenchie, they always say the same thing, and that's just he was hilarious and a great guy and fun to be around. So yeah, I love hearing it. Any opportunity to hear stories about him are great.
Yeah. Guys, you make the fun road because you're on the road all the time back then. You know, you didn't have days off. Of course, back then you didn't have a contract. You didn't work, you didn't get paid. You know, so if you were working an angle and they wanted you to work 50 days straight, I'm working 50 days straight. So you got to make your own fun on the road sometime. Man, and that's why surprisingly guys don't pop more often. You know, because you got all the pressure of the job, you got all the pressure of the road. I mean, yeah, surprisingly, more guys didn't have trouble.
Boy, nowadays the guys are riding on their own personal buses town to town, sleeping while they got some driver taking them around. So it's a different world now.
Well, even back then, the good times were Mid-South, where the guys, there was 4 guys in the car, and you're all driving. You're saying, hey, how about this? You're talking over angles. You're talking over spots. You know, when you get close to the town, the heels have to get out and walk the last 2 blocks to the building. I mean, that was the time in the business, man, you know, and then even WW, because got WWF got so big, guys would go different ways. You'd have to catch different flights. You'd be in different rent-a-cars. It wasn't the commodity that was in Mid-South. You got to know the guys real well in Mid-South.
I've heard a lot of the guys say that a lot, you know, when you're coming up in the business and starting to learn, they said some of the best lessons you learned when you were on the road, just talking to people about what you did that night, what you should do, stuff like that.
You know, what works, what doesn't work, you know?
Yeah.
Of course, you know, back then there was no internet, and so you do the same match every night. So you perfect that match and have that match down. As a matter of fact, I disagreed with Arn when Arn was working for the WWE as a producer or whatever, an agent backstage. You know, I'm doing my same formula. Who I'm working with, I do the same match. And he says, well, it's different now, Jim. Those people that are on the internet, they know that's the same match. You know, they realize it. I said, well, it's a great match, and only put 10% of those people are on the internet, and that's even better. It's like they caught me. Oh, God, that's the same match he had before. The son of a gun, he had it before. But the other 80 or 90% of the people, that match works. And plus, I'm pretty limited in what I can do, you know. That's what I told the young kids, though. I tell you, Marcus, when I was doing the indies, I was doing the indies at 65. And people were like, Hacksaw, you still go to the ring? Or excuse me, people were like, Hacksaw, you still wrestle? I said, well, I go to the ring. I don't know if you call it wrestling or not. But I tell the young guys, it's more than taking bumps. You got to have a ring presence. You got to have a story. It's more to it than just taking bumps. And I had no physical attributes, but I could still entertain a crowd for 6 minutes, you know, and have everybody USA.
Yep. Nowadays, like these guys do these crazy spots, jumping over the top rope and off, you know, down to the outside on the concrete. And it's like, yep, they'll get the chance in the big pop. But you used to come out to the ring, raise your thumb, say ho, and get them all screaming and chanting USA. And it's like, there's something to be said for not killing yourself, but still being over, right?
Well, thank you, Marcus. Yeah, a lot of people, you know, they say, well, all you do is go out there and yell ho with a 2x4. I said, well, here's a 2x4. Go out, give it a shot.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, even more
I've been lucky. The crowd, I have a great rapport with the guy. That's who I am. The people, you know, that's not Hacksaw's not a character. You know, back in the day, a couple of whiskeys, I'd have Hacksaw with me all the time. Jesus, and he'd get me in more trouble. I'll tell you.
You know, the other thing about you, Jim, is I was just watching a promo with you the other day. And you know, you are nobody else could do you like what you do. It was the funniest promo I've ever seen, where like you're shouting at this guy in WCW during the promo, and you're like wiping spit off of your face as you go, and just like pulling your hair back and just being wild and saying you're gonna listen to the bell. And and I was like, I don't think there's anybody else in the history of the business that could do that promo like that. I'm trying to think of somebody who could, and I couldn't. So yeah, that's what's unique about you, brother.
And she stayed with me through all that too.
It's a strong woman.
And somehow the transformation has changed, like from wild black trunk hacksaw to king of the ring hacksaw, from Jim to Jim. I'm like, I don't know how it happened.
God bless that woman.
Thank God, though, Deborah kept me around. I've been dead years ago. Like I said, my three best friends, Doc, Gordy, and Pipe, are all gone.
Man, I mean, it's a sobering thought, and yeah, it's thank God for Deborah. What a great woman you got there.
Well, nobody wants to be my friend anymore, neither.
I'll be your friend, Jim. I mentioned your partner's going into the match, or the Hart Foundation. They've had a lot of success as a tag team in the WWF, but Bret Hart is just a couple years away from starting as a singles run that's going to make him one of the biggest stars in wrestling. Early on, what were your impressions of Bret?
I've always got along with Bret. Yeah, Bret and I are friends to this day, man. Yeah, I've stayed at his house a few times up there in Calgary. He stayed with me down in Florida. Yeah, I've always got along with Bret. And we always tell the same story. We're in someplace on a long, when we see each other, go, you remember? And we both, yeah, of course we remember. Yeah. But we're over in Europe on some long tour, and we were the guys. We had one day off. I think it was, somewhere in Spain, Barcelona, I don't know, wherever it was. And so I got to get away from the boys. So I walked for like an hour and ended up sitting in this little park out in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, this is great. And all of a sudden, Bret walks by. We're out in the middle of nowhere in Spain, and we found each other. But,
what are the odds?
And that's the deal. We always remember in Spain we saw each other. Yeah. But I like Bret. Yeah, I do. And he's a great wrestler. Bret's one of those guys that can really wrestle. I mean, of course, the second generation guy, as we said before, all the second generation guys, Jake, Kurt, DiBiase, Bret, they grew up in wrestling. Bret was probably in the ring when he was 10, hitting the ropes and stuff. So, Bret was a really good wrestler. And of course, that's what people say, well, actually, what was your favorite move? I said, I kick and punch. I'm not a wrestler. I'm a brawler, so I had a different type of match. So it was, but Bret was really good. Easier for me to work with Neidhart, who I worked with in Mid-South quite a bit too. I knew Jim pretty well.
Yes, and you and Jim seem like kindred spirits, really. I mean, he actually set the shot put record at his high school in 1973, which I think is the same year that you did, right?
Yes.
So you guys both set the shot put records at your high school the same year.
What did he throw?
I don't know. I know that his was broken. Yours has never been broken.
Check that out.
I'll Google it. But then he'd also go on to be in the NFL before becoming a wrestler. So you guys are really kind of kindred spirits. Did you you spend a decent amount of time around Jim? Became buddies with him?
Not close, no. But we were friends, yeah. But very seldom would we go out together. Yeah, okay. But we worked with each other a lot, so we knew each other in the ring, which was good. It's because like I said before, the guy's not your opponent; he's your partner. And Jim and I could dance pretty well together.
It's on paper back in these days. It was about the big guys and size in pro wrestling and these larger than life characters. So on paper, you look at the Hart Foundation, and you're like, oh, okay, so Anvil's going to be the breakout star. But it winds up being Bret, and
Bret. I mean, you look at him to this day, he's like a heartthrob as an old timer. The girls love Bret. I mean, he's a handsome guy. He's got the body, the look, the hair, kind of the bad boy whole routine. Yeah, I mean, just all the girls love Bret, and half the guys, the other half are like, even my girl likes him.
I mean, did you see him becoming a massive star like he did?
Maybe, probably more so than anybody else. I really wasn't looking for somebody to break out like that, but if anybody, like I said, guys like that, yeah.
Yep.
Back then, I wouldn't say, "Oh, this guy's going to be the next big star." Where I thought like Dolph Ziggler would be the next big thing at WW. You know, I thought they'd push him much harder. So, like, don't vote for me, Doug.
It's strange with Dolph because I mean, handsome guy, great look, nice smile, great body, great work, good promo. It's like, okay, what is he missing? Like, why is that guy not achieving more success? It's strange.
Well, he's successful. I mean, the guy does well and everything. But yeah, I worked with him at the Spirit Squad. Me and Super Crazy were a tag team, man, and we worked with the Spirit Squad. And then me and the guys that did the Highlanders.
Yep.
Yeah, me and the Highlanders worked with the Spirit Squad.
There's some great
that's my line. You know, the WWF, I wrestled Dusty, DiBiase, and Orton. The WWE, I wrestled Dusty's kid, DiBiase's kid, and Orton's kid. First, I beat up the old man, then I beat up the kid. Oh!
You never know. Their grandkids might be next. You'll go out there with the 2x4.
Yeah. Pull a hamstring getting off the chair. Are you kidding? Yeah, I'm getting ready to do the Jericho cruise again, you know, this year. The next thing I do at the end of the month, which I did it last year, and Billy Gunn's kids were wrestling. I'm sure you know their wrestling names.
Austin.
But anyway, yeah, Jericho's like Hacksaw, the last match of the tour. He says, "You want to run down with your 2x4 and hit the two young kids with your 2x4." I said, "Well, Chris, I'll walk down as fast as I can." There's no running involved in this. And I said, "You got stairs to get in the ring?"
Not a running anymore. As a walk-in.
No, the stairs are important for an old timer. You got to climb in. That's why it's harder to get into a ring than people realize. You know, that's back in the day when, you know, you have so much heat, the fans would try to hit the ring. They get tied up in the ropes, you know.
Yep.
You're like shooting duck.
I've seen where some fans will get hung up trying to slide under, and they're just sitting ducks for like getting stomped on by the guys.
And usually the referee that gets the freebie in it, you know.
Yep.
Because, you know, if you touch it, you know, you're always a phony wrestler until you go to court. So if you touch somebody outside of the ring, but that was the old deal. If they're in the ring, they're bought and paid for. So that when I was a heel in Houston, that I was working over Tony Atlas pretty good. Ooh, they hit in the back of the head. And I turn around, there's this big, tall, skinny cowboy, big cowboy. He's dancing around, you know. I'm like, come here. So I got him. We're starting to work on him a little bit. Now security's there. They got him by the leg. And they're trying to pull him out of the ring. I'm a heel. Like, no.
You weren't done with him.
He's in here with me.
So I don't imagine his night ended great.
That Houston, yeah, that was a great day. Old Sam Houston Coliseum, they'd be in the ring with you a lot of they served mixed drinks at the arena. Oh, you'd have to fight your way back and forth to the ring. It was crazy.
That's a recipe for trouble. A bunch of drunk folks out there in Houston.
The boys.
Well, not to mention that. Well, let's get to the pay-per-view, Jim. There's a few interesting things going on the show, including a pose down between the Ultimate Warrior and Rick Rude. Jim, this does not seem like the kind of thing that you would have been seeing out during your territory days. What did you think of the pose down on pay-per-view?
Well, they wouldn't definitely have a personality contest, that's for sure. Holy. Gee, like a standoff there, I'll tell you. Yeah, I realized the business was changing, and yeah, I got to change with it. Like I said, as we talked earlier, guys embracing your gimmick. The business, you know, a lot of the purists were like, "Oh, that's not right," you know. Like everything changes, and you got to change with it, or you don't stick around.
That kind of felt like a way that, you know, they realized that they had some value in the Ultimate Warrior and wanted to get him on the pay-per-view, but they're like, how can we get him on the show without him having to work a match?
And they both those guys had great bodies, you know. I mean, that's probably why they had real bad personalities. Like, give me a sandwich.
So we all hear how awful the Ultimate Warrior could be. Rick Rude was not a super personable guy either.
I didn't get along with Rick very well. No,
Really?
I didn't have that much interaction with him. I mean, he was that Minnesota clique group, but and it was no open hostility. It was just, we weren't friends, I would say. No,
I got you.
we were acquaintances.
After winning the Royal Rumble the year prior, you're not involved in the '89 Rumble at all. But I asked Ted and Jake both this question before, so I want to hear your answer to this because they both had the same answer. When you're in a Battle Royal or a Royal Rumble, there's a lot of body parts swinging around, so it can be easy to catch like an elbow or a knee or something like that. Jim, what is your strategy going into a match like a Battle Royal or a Royal Rumble?
Get in the corner.
That's what they both said. And I was kind of teasing.
Corner.
I was teasing Ted about it a little bit. I was like, so all these guys are in the ring and everybody's trying to get into a corner.
I know, right? For all the old timers, the young kids are out there thinking that's why you got it. Can't take a bump out there. You're going to hurt somebody. Land on the back of their leg. I mean, you get a lot of heat. But what I used to like about a battle royal is be tied up with somebody, and it was obviously, and your buddies be here, and hit him in the small of the back. You're like, oh shit. Sneaking a shot every once in a while, but that was good. I love battle royals. I don't have to pick and choose my targets. I just shoot away, man.
Whoever
my kind of match, battle royals. But they were a lot of fun. We actually had mass battle royals in Mid-South where you have to wear a hood over your head,
like a blindfold.
Yeah, you're blindfold. You could actually barely see. You look at it, you wouldn't think you could see, but you could barely see. And we had so at the end, it was like Ricky Morton, one-man gang, and me, right? So it's two baby faces and big gang. And so what I do, I sit and I point. And when I point at gang, the crowd would, yay! And I'd walk, of course, and he'd walk the other way. So we missed each other. But the one time I pointed, they're like, yay! And I'd walk to get gang, and Ricky would walk in between us, right? No, Hacksaw, it's Ricky. It's Ricky, Hacksaw.
That's just good stuff.
Oh, yeah. Nothing like the old territory. Well, the current indie shows are fun, man. I encourage folks to go out to check out the current indie shows. Those are the guys that are busting their butt trying to get the break, man. And they're entertaining. You sit close to the ring and realize, hey, that might really hurt.
It's now I'm going to be going back and watching all these Royal Rumbles with you guys and watching you and Ted and Jake all try to get into the corners. now I know.
Is that what they said too, corner?
Yeah, but that's why I wanted to ask you, because they both had the same answer. I was like, if Jim is trying to get into the corner, it's going to, like, all these guys just have the same strategy. It's so funny.
Jake and Ted move. I'm coming to the corner.
You can muscle them out.
I don't know.
Well, let's get to your match, Jim. You open the show in a 2 out of 3 falls, 6-man tag match. Raymond is going to score the first fall. Hart is going to get the second, and we'll drop in on the action for the final fall. You can follow along with us on Peacock if you'd like. We're covering the final minute and 40 seconds of the match. Let's have a look.
Oh, by Nino Bravo. Whoa, just came out the back door on that one. Had Bravo hooked the leg on that. I think we might have had a winner.
There you go, now you got it. That's it.
Atomic drop, inverted, but right into the corner, and he makes a tag.
Now there was a mistake by Bravo.
And Bravo, a guy who's used the tag team. Oh, look at this. I didn't see any tag there. And it's a Hitman unloading. And this capacity crowd loves every minute of it.
Great recuperative power by the Hitman to be in there to be that effective after the beating he took early in the bout.
Well, I told you about that earlier on. And did you see the execution of that backbreaker? Look out. Oh. Never saw Raymond come down the line. And now the Anvil's over there to teach him a lesson. Got a little more help. Oh, he clobbered him with a 2x4. Referee didn't see it.
Now what do you call that?
What a cast of characters with Jimmy Hart out there, Frenchie Martin, the Rougeaus, and what a way to open up the show. It's a lot of pressure they want to put on. Hey, you're opening up the show. You want to start off great. Don't screw up, you know, bang. And that was the way to open up the show. Are you kidding? Had
It's
him
a
up.
lot.
And of course, nowadays, I think you do like that bat break or some of that stuff. I don't know if the fans would go for it. You want the double sabi. But everything changes. And but that was obviously a great match. We had the crowd anyway. That's a
Yes.
good way to judge a match. You know, people say, I don't know, how was the crowd? If they're sitting on their hands, no matter what they're doing in the ring, that's not a good match. If you're
They
out
were
there
into
going
it.
ho and everybody in the place is going ho,
They were into the action in this one. And you know what else is funny and kind of stuck out to me was that you're a babyface here and you're winning kind of by cheating. You hit the guy with the 2x4, but the audience
I
is
think that
fully
wasn't
behind it.
kind of Marcus. That's pretty much blatant cheating.
But the audience is like, they're popping and they don't care that you're cheating. So it's interesting psychology where like if a heel does it, they're like, we hate him. But if you do it to the heel, the
But I
audience is like,
think were
good.
the heels doing something prior to that? I would imagine that's retaliation.
Probably, yes.
Well, I don't think. Yeah, I would just do it without Jimmy hitting somebody with a megaphone or what's it with the flag? Yeah, Frenchie Martin with the flag. Yeah, I would think something like that would happen for me to retaliate with a 2x4. I would think.
I believe that they did it. They cheated to score the.
Well, that'll teach them, then, won't it?
And that's the psychology, and it works. It's just such a cool, simple way to do things. At the end of it, Jesse's gonna, kind of put over the idea like, Duggan, he's a cheater. He shouldn't be out there with that 2x4, which is always funny. Did you get to spend a lot of time with Jesse Ventura?
No, not too much. But I have 3 older sisters. They hated his guts.
Oh, really?
Oh, he talks so bad about you, Jimmy. I'm like, that's his job.
He did.
The better he talks bad about me, the better it is for me. No, I didn't know Jesse very well. Said hello to him, had interaction with him, but never worked with him in the ring.
Well, he and Grillo were just a legendary commentary group, so it was fun to see
unbelievable.
them on
Yeah, Jesse, yeah, both. Yeah, I mean, it's one legend after another. Bobby, Gorilla, Jesse, JR. I mean, it's been a great Jerry. Like I said, to be at that spot, you got to be on top of your game.
Even Vince, a lot of people criticize Vince's commentary, but I loved it. I always thought he was good.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, shit. I know. I tell you, one of the last times I was back at WWE, I was doing voiceovers for something before the show. It was like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I get the headset on, and my dad, whatever I said, and all of a sudden, no, Jim.
God.
That's wrong. I'm like, what the hell is this guy doing here for voiceovers? Listening to me, and Vince was a workaholic, and he wouldn't ask you to do something that he wouldn't do. At least the Vince and a lot of guys. I hate Vince McMahon. That son of a gun. He should have treated us better. Yeah, he could have treated us better. He sure could have. But on my point, I travel the world at 70 years old signing autographs. And nobody asks you about Mid-South. Nobody asks about WCW. Nobody asks about WWE. It's the WWF, the golden age of wrestling. And Vince let me be part of that. So, could he treat us better? Yeah, easily. Could he still treat us better? Yeah, throw us a bone? Old-timer? But overall, I have nothing. Like I said, it's worked out good for me.
Yep, video games, action figures. It's Ted and I talk about this a lot.
They're not dolls; they're action figures.
Action figures. You guys.
I told you when I had the Barbie, I'd be like, "Ooh, Hacksaw."
You guys went from being, famous pro wrestlers to now pop culture icons. So it's all due to Vince. And
I did a Comic-Con and went in and I'm like, Henry Winkler. He's like Hacksaw Duggan. I'm like,
it's not happening without Vince. But hey, this was a great episode, Jim. We're at the end of it. And we'll be back in 2 weeks to do another Hacksaw mailbag. and we'll let listeners take over the show by providing their questions for Jim. Man, always a pleasure to talk to you, Jim. And for our listeners, if you want a little interaction yourself with Jim, you've got to get over to his Cameo page. It's cameo.com/Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and look at the reviews. Everybody loves what he's doing. And by the way, if you're watching us right now on YouTube. Oh God, your foot.
What do you got here?
Jim has got a signed 2x4. You can only get those at hacksawjimdugganshop.com. Not only those, but he's also got an awesome Hasbro style magnet. He's got 8x10s. He's got all sorts of stuff over there. Go and have a look for yourself. It's hacksawjimdugganshop.com, right, Jim?
Right, and we'll get the Christmas tree down, Marcus. Quick, you've been busting my chops off camera, folks. I got to tell you.
Been teasing Jim over there about keeping Christmas alive, and well, look, guys, we'll look forward to keeping the podcast alive here on YouTube. We'll catch you next week or in 2 weeks.
No, wait a minute, Marcus. Here we go, baby.
Here we
go.
go.
Let's do it. Oh!
Good hoeing, Jim.
So, how much? $200?